everybody. My name is Patrice Johnson. Welcome to the Great Reset podcast where insurance meets accountability. Today, I have Larysa with me to share her journey in the insurance business. And with no further ado, please introduce yourself.
Hi, well, I'm glad to be on here on your podcast. My name is Larysa. I am based out of California. I've been in the insurance space. I got licensed in 2016. So I've been in the area since then. I also work full time too. So I think it's a really great industry to get into because you can definitely do it on a part-time basis. Um, so yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing. I know it's like really hard to talk about ourselves. And it's like, oh yeah, I just read. I do for
I do
fun.
that too.
Can you share a bit of your background and how you came into the insurance industry?
Yeah. So it honestly fell into my lap. I had a friend who was already in the industry. And at the time, I was working a job where I was in the dispatch center working 12-hour shifts, and I absolutely hated it. So I was looking for something else to do already. I kept seeing him posting on social media, like he made money, but he was never actually in an office.
Yeah.
So I asked him, like, what do you do for work? And he was like, I can show you better than I can tell you. So he's based out in Southern California. He hooked me up with someone who was somewhat near me. The guy met me in Sacramento. He drove out here from the Bay Area and we had a conversation and I was a little confused, but I went ahead and I was like, you know what, let's do this. Get me in my courses and I'll just ask questions later.
Yeah.
So I kind of just naively jumped into it. I was still working, that full-time job. So it was a little rough in the beginning to kind of get going. And there wasn't any local leadership to me here in Sacramento.
Yeah.
So that was kind of posed a challenge too. I definitely took some breaks, came back in once I got like a normal hour job, and then kind of just took off, went from there.
So I love that you said that you had a job. Can you tell me why you kept that job and didn't let go? Because a lot of agents see this business and quit their job and they go all in. What was that decision that you made? Like, I'm not doing that.
Girl, I'm a chicken. That's what it was. I was like, I had recently got out of college. I maybe was like a year and a half out once I found out about this industry. And I wasn't sure if it was going to be something that I wanted to do. I'm not a math girl. I steered clear of it in college. I made sure that my major did not require any math, and it did not. I majored in criminal justice. And I was kind of going between, getting into investigations, doing not criminal justice, but doing the lawyer route. So I kept my job because I wasn't sure. And because they said I can do this on a part-time basis. And, it's not like a typical like 20 to 32 hours you got to clock in. I was like, why not give it a try? I was on night shift at the time, so I could study because we had a lot of downtime at nighttime. So I just kind of gave it a whirl. I still do actually work full time in the paralegal space. So now that I've kind of gotten more of a grasp on the insurance industry, financial services, I really do want to do it because I see how many people actually need the information. And on social media, you see so many people asking. But, I have other things that I'm trying to do, and I want to put myself in a position to not have to worry and be like thirsty for a commission.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people who do that. I know people who actually just jump ship on their job and they were pressed for the next commission. And I know that can kind of sway people's judgments. So I just didn't want to be in that position to stress myself out. So I'm very like a logical person. I want to execute it properly before. I mean, I jumped into the industry naively, but I don't want to jump out of my job naively and set myself up.
You were responsible. You used your experience that were already in front of you. And to me, that's what I want to convey and why this podcast is so important, because I need people to hear you being responsible, doing the thing, because that is actually the scary thing, is standing on
Yeah.
business, because you feel like you're going to disappoint people and you don't want someone to think you're not totally committed. it's just like, no, I'm not seeing the consistency. I need to learn the business. You said it very clearly that I felt naive. I knew nothing. So why would I jump into something I don't know what to do? Because like I
Right.
think when we talked the other day, I said coming into this business is like being handed keys to a McDonald's franchise and then they walk off
Yeah,
from you. You're like, what?
it's
uh,
exactly true. And I mean, you have to take a leap of faith at some point,
mhm.
but can execute it properly. Like me, I'm like, I need consistency. Like, I need to show myself that I can produce results consistently that I want and
Yeah.
that I'm going to need. But I need to also, have a certain amount set aside before I'm comfortable moving forward. It's where I'm like, okay, let's go. We're all in. I know people who kind of were a little okay and they
Yeah.
jumped in, and putting themselves with their back against the wall, it pushes them. It does that for me too, but it low key stresses me out as well. And if I get too stressed out, I kind of will shut down in that sense a little bit. So I was not ready for it at the time.
You knew yourself and you didn't put yourself into a position that you knew that was going to mess you up. That is like so responsible because at the end of the day, those people had those experiences because they felt that they could handle it. That's on them, but that's not an experience that you were going to choose for yourself as well. I had to make a lot of choices like that. Can you describe some of the challenges and obstacles that you had faced early on and how you overcame them and how you got to be all this amazingness in front of me now?
I think the biggest thing is I am very much so in my head all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, just like, the conversation we were having earlier about me not being able to do like the perfect messy bun, like the cute one. I'm so hard on myself. I mean, we're all our worst critics. We're probably the hardest on ourselves than anybody. So I think that was a big challenge for me. Putting myself out there, like now I am more comfortable putting things out on social media. Before I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not posting any of this. It took me a while to even start posting on social media like that. So I think that was probably the biggest hurdle. I think that and being finally comfortable in the leadership that I'm with now and just make and when you have a feeling in your gut that this is the path that you want to be down, but maybe just not with this company or this set of people. That's kind of the feeling I had. So that's why I also wasn't ready to jump fully in either. I had to kind of feel everything out first.
Are you still with the same agency you came in with at 2016 or you've transitioned? Okay. So,
Yeah.
well, that kind of goes into another question for me. So, based on your transition from company to company, can you kind of go through that experience and why you made those changes and why you're finally like, this is it? Like, where did you become where you finally was like, hey, I have to be responsible? Because based on what you've been saying this whole time, you're very responsible and tactful. So, you're not going to jump into anything, that isn't sure. So, I assume that transition each time was uh, an upgrade, if you will.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm also a little bit of a people pleaser at times too. So when I first got in the industry, I started off as an independent non-captive agent. And I was with an IMO. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be fun. But again, there was no local leadership. So because of that and the 12-hour to 16-hour days that I was working at my full-time job, I kind of, in a sense, phased myself out over time. And it took me forever to get licensed. So if you're out there and you're just now you're studying for your license, do it quicker because it's going to hinder your paycheck at the end of the day and your training and everything else. So I phased myself out of it. And then my aunt also works in the insurance space too, but she works for a captive agency as she was like an office manager at the time. So that agent, she wanted to expand her business and they talked me into coming over there and trying to help them expand to Sacramento. But I was there for maybe 5 or 6 months. Me and the agent didn't really vibe per se. And for me, there wasn't really like the training that I would have expected. So I ended up leaving that. And then I get a call from the old IMO that I was with. They're like, hey, we're opening an office in your area. Do you want to come back? And I was like, well, maybe. So I kind of transitioned back over eventually. And by that time, I was kind of working just a normal like 8 to 4:30 schedule. So it was more doable for me. Um, I ended up going back eventually. And then at the beginning of this year, I went and moved on to a different IMO just because I felt it was better for not only myself, but clients as well.
And so how long have you been with your new IMO?
A few months.
Okay.
So maybe like half of the year. So I kind of was getting, I had, a little hiccup trying to get adjusted. You had to get, start the process over with getting appointed with different companies. So having experience both as a captive agent, where I was just kind of like an employee of the agent, and then independent IMO route with being a non-captive, I got to experience both. And I prefer being independent, non-captive, because why not have the choices if you can?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love that you shared that and that having that back and forth choice because a lot of people kind of bounce between that, but it's like you really don't know unless you've experienced. And some people are just comfortable in those captive spaces and some people are not.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. So what do you think there are what are the key adjustments that you've made to improve your efficiency and success within your business now that you're in your new IMO?
I would say one of the reasons I transferred is they have onboarding systems in place.
Mm,
There's a lot of onboarding systems, there's training. I mean, I knew some of the people who I started seeing kind of who was over there. And because I like their training that they provide, the value they provide, I was like, well, if it's good enough for them, like it has to be good. So I kind of, looked into it and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make the move. So I think to kind of just stay on my game is really being more system driven. And holding myself accountable. But then, I became more comfortable recruiting and building a team, being intentional about it. And, holding them accountable to what their goals are and just, having fun with it and being serious. But I'm not here to be anyone's boss. I'm here to guide your way. So I guess to answer your question better is just being more system driven.
and then you found a place where you can grow your business that could
Yeah.
even have the capacity for that because so is it safe to say recruiting would have been harder at your other place because there was no system in place to plug someone into so they can kind of see the rhythm?
I feel like there was a system, but the system for me personally, it
Yeah.
changed too much.
Mm,
And I understand, over time you have to kind of refresh and try new things if something's not working. But I feel like sometimes things would work and then it would change a little bit.
mm,
So, in my personal opinion, I feel like it changed too much, which led to a little bit of confusion.
yeah.
Here, I haven't really seen it change, maybe tweaked a little bit, um, but it's for the better and it's nothing major. It's maybe like, oh, we're gonna do training, on this day instead of this day. That's
Yeah,
the biggest, not a big deal. Um,
exactly.
but I think too, with the leadership that I'm under, I get like communication is very open. That's very important to me, and especially with other people's success. And I think too, there's a lot of support to handle the incoming of multiple agents at once that are brand new, needing to go through a system. There's trainings in place. Everything is broken down into steps. So it's more digestible for a new person who's also trying to focus on getting their license and whatever else they're dealing with.
I love that. Like, and as a business owner, that's the thing you need to think about. You need to think about your business now and a few minutes from now and in the future. And for you, it's like thinking about your growth and the people you're going to be bringing on. It's like, if I'm confused, how am I going to help them? Like, that's not a conducive relationship. So speaking of recruiting, I know you said you just kind of jumped into that. So can you walk us through what your current recruitment process is from the first interaction with that potential agent to bringing them on board?
So when I first talked to them, like if someone, I've had people reach out to me, like on TikTok, and I'll talk to them, have a Zoom or a phone call so they can kind of just get more information on exactly what is this. Like a lot of people, I
Mhm.
mean, there's so many people online talking about it and everyone throwing their opinions out. I think a lot of people are also confused and have a little bit of a misunderstanding, trying to get through all the information. So I talk to them, make sure they understand if they want to move forward, then we're going to move forward and get going. If not, and they want to, touch base in a couple months or something, then we can do that. I'm definitely not about pressuring anybody because I don't like to be pressured. And when I get pressured, it gives me the ick, and then I'm just not going to answer you anymore.
My biggest pet
So
peeve.
yes, I hate it. And I get why people do it in a sense because they're just trying to help, but sometimes you just can't be as aggressive as I've seen some people.
It comes off as commission brev too. I mean, I don't I
Yes.
love where you're going with this, and I just wanted to add um obviously have the podcast and stuff like that. So I have people reaching out wanting to do work for my site. And I thought, hey, I want to give this guy a shot to make some videos for me. I said, hey, I'm busy today. I will talk to you tomorrow. He still texted me that same day and was like, hey, how about now? And I was like, I said tomorrow.
No.
And then, yeah, then the next day came in, my day got notably chaotic, and I needed to talk to him to discuss. And I was like, hey, I can't do today. Can we do Saturday? I'll be available. That man texts me all day and night, still like, hey, ma'am, okay, I'll wait. But then it was the pressure again. I was just like, hey, bro, I'm blocking you now. Like, I literally am asking you for my, respect. I'm going to purchase something, but you're
Yeah.
not giving me the adequate time. And I am being respectful of his time, right? I'm communicating with him, letting him know my day. And then you're still coming down. Like, I'm done. You're blocked.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like to have the open communication and just actually make sure if they have any questions, the questions get answered, and just having that transparency because I see a lot of people advertising like, oh, if you want to work from home, like I have a job opening, this, that, and the other. And I've had, people reach out to me, sending me, their little standard message or whatnot. And I'm like, I look on their page. I can tell, I can figure out what company you're with. Like
Yeah.
it's easy to look up a license anywhere. As long as I know what state you're in, I can look it up and
Yeah.
kind of gauge where you're at. Um, but I've called people out. I'm like, is this an actual W-2 job like you're advertising, or is this 1099? Like, because you need to tell people and
Yeah.
be honest and not bait and switch. Like I'm not about bait and switching. Um, so just like being open and with the communication, answering their questions, and then if they want to get started, you know, get them with their courses, their exam scheduled. Because I just recently had two people come on in the East Coast, so we're going
Congratulations.
through their onboarding, and the tests were scheduled out like a month in advance. So I'm like, we do put a little bit of urgency on scheduling your exam just because they do get booked out so quickly. It's not just everyday availability sometimes. We scheduled one person, and then the other person came on like a week later, maybe two,
Yeah.
and it was already booked out a whole month. And I'm like, a lot of people are getting their licenses these days. So I do put a little bit of urgency on that just because one, you need a license to earn money, but
Yeah.
two, it gets booked up really quickly. So just kind of at least looking at the schedule, and then just take them through the process. And I understand, I kind of gauge with them too, how much time do you have to put into this? Because I'm not going to push you to do what agent A is going to do with, they have all this time in the world, but you have maybe a fraction of it, because then it's going to turn you off. Because I've had that done to me where they're pushing and pushing and pushing, and they're comparing my activity to someone who doesn't have a full-time job. I don't have the same capacity as them. Um, so I don't want to push somebody who's not ready for that level of speed yet. And if they're not, I'll walk with you. And if I have someone who's ready to move quick, we'll move them quicker to the process. If I can't do it, I like to leverage other people in our organization who have maybe more time, especially if it's a difference in time zones. Um, I like to bring other people in. Plus, it gives them a chance to meet other people, work with them. They might even vibe better than me and the other person.
Yeah.
So, and if they want to work with them and, have them work with the training, by all means, go ahead. I'm not going
Yeah.
to cry over it. I mean, if you feel better connected to them with the training or maybe their style, why not?
So when that
Go ahead.
happens, are they not a part of your hierarchy and they move over to someone else's?
Oh, no, no, they'll still be part of the hierarchy. I mean, but if there was the chance or the time that someone said, hey, I don't want to be part of your organization anymore,
Yeah.
then I mean, of course, I'd be bummed about it. It's never happened to me. But
Yeah.
if that ever happened, I would say, I'd have the conversation, see, is it something that I did? Or
Yeah.
did you just talk to somebody and you vibe better over there? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like if you absolutely wanted to leave and there's nothing we can do to fix it,
Yeah.
then by all means, I would release you.
So can
Because
you break
why?
down your organization? So I was trying to get a better, clearer picture here because you were just saying like, oh, if they want to work with a trainer, just go ahead. You don't have to talk to me. Like, what does that mean? Is that someone that's part of your hierarchy, or what does that look like as far as I'm not, I didn't understand the
Oh yeah,
organization, so I was trying to get a better picture of that because I thought that
yeah.
was cool. That hey, you don't have to talk to me, talk to the trainer then. So I'm like, how is the trainer affiliated with your organization?
They're still part of like the same organization I'm in. It's something called kind of like matchup. So
Mm,
if I can tell that someone, they're gonna vibe a little bit better, or they just have the time, like for example, like the East Coast. If I'm not available at the time and there's someone else that can be available at that time to do an appointment with them or whatever the case may be, then I'll reach out and connect them and say, hey, do you mind helping? I'm not available right now, or maybe I'm not an expert in that area that with the client they have.
yeah.
I'm not going to set you up for failure. I'm going to find somebody else who I know for a fact can
Oh,
properly
absolutely.
educate that client on something. For example, um, like business owners. I'm not an expert in that yet, but I'm learning still. And so if I know someone who I know for a fact can speak that lingo, I'm going to be like, hey, can you help them? Because I don't want to make a fool of myself, the organization in general, and them. And now the person's kind of like, do you even know what you're doing? And then it's kind of just like a bad first impression. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
do that to a brand new person or anyone at that matter.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the organization, we all work together. So they would still be on my team, but I can leverage other people who may know something more than I do, or if they just have the availability at that time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hinder someone else going through a training process or hinder an appointment. Their person might only have that day available. So
Yeah.
if I can't do it, find someone else who can. So at least it can get done. I don't need to be the face of everything every
Yeah.
single.
So when they
Uh,
get connected or matched up with that partner, are they splitting the commission on that policy, or how does that work? Or is it just it's that's your system? Okay.
yeah, more than likely they would just split it because they're both working on it together. Um, but they'd still be part of my organization.
Yeah.
But if somebody ever came to me and said like, I don't want to be on your team anymore and have the conversation, if it's something that I can fix, something I did unintentionally and didn't even know, then I would work on it to correct that. But if it was
Yeah.
something where they're just like, I just don't want to be here anymore for whatever the reasons is, then I would let them go somewhere
Well,
else.
expeditiously. I'm like, baby, you don't need to be here for either me or you
Why?
because we're both going to be stressed out.
Well, yeah, because like, why keep somebody? It's like you're keeping someone captive underneath,
Yeah.
you're holding them against their own will. If I'm not your cup of tea, I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But if
Exactly.
you found something better that better suits you, by all means go. Because when you have someone who doesn't want to be there, like we currently
Exactly.
have that situation where I work at. Um, there's someone who's on their way out, but they have a bad attitude and it's draining everybody else.
Yeah.
So why would I want that to spread where you're constantly in a bad attitude and it's draining your energy, everybody
Yeah.
else's? It's kind of like that whole rotten fruit
Oh,
analogy.
absolutely.
Why would I want to, if you don't want to be here, then leave. It's like when you're in a
Absolutely.
relationship. If you don't want to be here, leave. Like,
With that being said, how do you ensure that you are selecting the right candidates?
I feel like it's kind of hard to know because people can put up a front. I haven't had the issue of selecting like a bad person.
Yeah.
I haven't had anyone that kind of, moves in a weird way. Everyone is genuinely trying to learn or, do better for themselves and build a business. Of course, there's people who say they're going to do X, Y, and Z and they don't do it. But I always try to just really have a conversation with somebody, figure out what they're actually, what are they here for? What do they want to do? A lot of people obviously come in because they want to make more money.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can also tell a person who is in it just for the money versus a person who's here for the money, but wants to learn and build a business and, help people and, do it, whether they want to just help people or if they want to actually build like their own agency, their own team. Because you can do both. You can either just be a producer or you can be a producer and a builder. It can be either. Um, but I mean, I can kind of tell when someone's in it for the wrong
Yeah.
reasons. And at that point, I'd be kind of like, I don't know, because I don't want someone who's here just for a commission. I know plenty
Conversation
of,
like.
I mean, I would just talk to them normally and ask them kind of what their goals are. And I feel like sometimes you can just sense it. If someone, a lot of people, a lot of times they'll reach out on social media, or if someone like referred them and they message me or something, I'll kind of look at their social media to, I mean, I know people only put out there what they want you to think, but I kind of like look at, what their social media looks like, what do they do? I just kind of want to see how they move a little bit based on what they're sharing. Um, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. I just kind of get like a feeling just by talking to them if they're in it for the wrong reasons, or if I see, I mean, I know people who are in the industry who are kind of just, I'm here to make money. I want to make money and talk about money and money and money and money. And I
And
get
so,
it, we're in the
so you've
finance
been
world, but
exactly. So I know you've been recruiting for a while. So, what are some key metrics that you use to measure the success of your recruiting efforts? How have these measured? I mean, I know you just started, but have they evolved since you started, or you're kind of in that phase where you're still testing things out?
I've evolved more. I think I'm kind of testing a few things out,
Mhm.
where I kind of want to start holding more like webinar kind of info sessions. We have those available already, through the IMO where we have them where they're already pre-scheduled. But I kind of want to narrow it down maybe a little bit. I think more so on the service side, like this is what we can do. And if you know anyone who would be a good fit for this, maybe kind of take that route a little bit. And what I'm starting to change up to on just social media in general, because I've been trying to use that as a huge marketing tool, like everybody else, is I want to just kind of give insight about what it's like to be an agent, what you can actually do with your license. Because I think when people hear a life insurance license, they think all you can do is life insurance. But depending on the IMO you're with, I mean, with the license alone, you can do life insurance, but you can also do annuities. A lot of people tend to like not think about that because who even knows what an annuity is? I never knew. I really didn't know much about life insurance anyways, but I want to just take a different approach on social media. Obviously, reach out to people that I know just to show them what it is I do. I don't need you to get anything from me. If you want to, great. But I want you to see what it is that I do because you might know somebody who's looking for something. So I've been using social media, more often than I used to. And I've seen more efforts in it because I've had people reach out saying, hey, I need you to talk to this person about, getting X, Y, and Z in place. And then as I'm talking to that person about, putting things together for them, they're like, wait a minute, I want to do this too. And I think it's because people see that you can also do it on a part-time basis and it's not clocking in and clocking out. Just kind of being more open about what it's actually like to do this because I think people are missing the mark a little bit. You either see people educating on the products and the services, which I love, or when people are talking about the business, it's, oh, look at my commissions that I made this week. I made this much. Like sometimes people don't care. I mean, they care, but they see it and they're kind of like, I can't do that. Um, but they're not really getting the full picture. They just see the money, and that's where you get people in, and they, then they don't see that instantly, and they have a negative taste in their mouth. Um, so kind of just taking a different approach from what I'm seeing online.
Feel like I've been doing a little bit of that myself too. I want to talk to people. I want to have conversations, give them something
Yeah,
to think about, even when it comes to concepts of selling, asking questions, knowing your customer instead of just saying, I have this product, you need this. How do you know they need
right.
it? when did you guys have a conversation?
Right.
So I know that you're managing your job and then you are an agent and now you're recruiting. What is the balance there? Are you taking a seat back on your commission? Are you still servicing clients? Is your focus mostly on the agent thing? Like, how are you balancing all this?
Um, Having a routine and a schedule. That's why
Yeah.
when I was telling you earlier about the chat GPT, I've been seeing all this whole winter arc and using chat GPT to write a daily detailed schedule. I actually did that. I'm going to tweak it a little bit, but I am really being a stickler for my own schedule. When it comes to work, I know what my hours are. It's kind of like an established thing. I have a little bit of flexibility, which not a lot of people have. So that's also why I think things are working for me a little bit better now is because I have a little bit more flexibility. Um, I always wanted to expand out of California and it happened, and it just so happened to be on the East Coast. Well, now we're 3 hours time difference. So I've learned that I have to be flexible with my schedule and I may need to make a little bit of sacrifice. I may need to wake up a little bit earlier and maybe some mornings I might not be able to work out before work because I need to do an appointment or something with the East Coast team. So just knowing that I need to open my availability enough, but still have enough time to do the things that I need to do, like meal prep, pay attention to my needy cat. A lot of people told me cats are really great pets because they just do their own thing, not mine. Right now, I'm glad she's asleep right now, so she's not bothering us. But just having that schedule, that routine that I can stick to and not freaking out when I can't follow it to an exact T. I have 30-minute lunch breaks. I can take a phone call. I can walk you through something. I can help you. I always tell people if you call me and can't get a hold of me through the phone, just text me because I might be on a work meeting, but I can multitask. I can answer the question. Um, and then also just really spending time training people to show them like, here's your agent portal. This is where you find this. This is where you find that. So I like to show people the resources as well because a lot of people that I work with right now, they are resourceful. They want to know where to find something because they will read it and then be like, hey, is this how you interpret it too? Or is this how you do things? Or, so right now I'm working with people who kind of go out there and find the information.
Yeah.
Um, they kind of know about the industry a little bit, or they've already been in the industry too, or they've ran businesses, things like that. So they are very like self-sufficient in a way. It's just a matter of learning the industry.
No, definitely. And I'm so glad you brought up AI. I know we talked about that earlier, but like I said, and I stand by this, we live in the best time ever, especially if you're a
Yeah.
business owner. There's so many resources and tools that will take things that would take you hours or weeks, or maybe having
Yes.
to pay someone, and you're getting it done like that. It does not take away the quality or the fact you didn't do the work. That is literally a meaningless task that just needed to be done in seconds. That's helped me formulate my questionnaires to make sure I have the right stuff for each person. I'm like, hey, Chat GPT, like he's my bestie. Like I
I
call him,
know. I love him now. We are locked in. I read your questionnaire. I'm
yeah.
like,
He
questions.
like
I was
I'm
like,
pretty
I
sure
can never.
this man knows my whole life story. He when I was going through my adoption, where my husband was adopting my kids, like Chat was like, hey, I just know you guys are going to win. Good luck to you and your family.
No
And
way.
and then when we did win, I was trying to write up some finalized letters, and he was like, I'm so happy and all this other stuff. I'm so, like, it was like talking like a real person. And I'm like, dude, you're so dope.
Oh, see, I've seen people actually, I think on threads, they were talking about Chat GPT and they're like, yeah, I have conversations with Chat GPT all the time. I'm like, you can have real I haven't tried it yet, but I did the whole schedule thing. I mean, I've used it for like
Yeah.
social media purposes. I'm like, okay, what would you say like with this? I'm like, oh, this is good. But even like with technology too, like in the industry, this is part of why I switched, was the technology that this other IMO offers. I mean, we all know like when you apply for life insurance, like especially the traditional way, it can take a while. Now, once the pandemic and stuff happened, a lot of them transitioned to non-medical options, but it's not always guaranteed. Now, I have a company at my disposal that it's truly non-medical and it lets you know within like 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm talking like the time that you start putting in some basic information, I was on the phone with a client while they were doing it. And within 10 minutes, we knew if they were getting approved or not, or if it was going to recommend the next best thing.
Get you in 10 minutes and get you off the phone.
Well, and then, I mean, I like talking to people. I mean, as you can
Yeah.
probably tell, me and you, our first conversation, we could probably just yap all day.
Yeah.
But even just the technology with on the life insurance business side, like it's moving things a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think clients appreciate that. I mean, the fact that I can just send someone a link and they can kind of look at it off of some basic questions. I mean, I always tell them like, here, you can look at this, but if you have a question before actually like submitting this, like, please let me know and we'll walk through it so I can explain the difference between like
Yeah.
a term and the whole life and the final expense or whatever. Don't move forward if you're not sure.
Would you say that your paralegal work coincides with insurance? Like it doesn't feel
Yeah,
like you're doing extra work. It's like a continue, you know what I mean? Like you're not doing
it
two
works hand
separate
in hand.
things.
It works
Yeah.
hand in hand. I mean, what I do is a little bit more specified,
Yeah.
but like to a certain group of people. However, like I work on the probate side.
Okay.
So I see what it's like when people
Mm,
don't have things in place, like life insurance, wills, trusts. I mean, those living documents, the healthcare directives, the power of attorney. Like I was just talking to somebody
yeah.
who they just had someone pass and now they have to be the executor. And, talking to her, I'm like, oh, well, did they have life insurance in place? Did they have this, X, Y, Z? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, let's hope so. Like
Dude,
things are
so can you walk us
expensive.
through that? That's one thing that never really gets touched on, and I do want to touch on that because you have such a strong background in it. That is so huge for you to have. That like I would love, to have you in my network space because, those are things that people aren't prepared for. Like they don't realize if you have a child under
Yeah,
18 as a life insurance beneficiary, that policy will go to
they're not
probate. I
getting
have
it.
a friend dealing with that right now, $1 million policy. Off top, 30% is gone. So
Yeah.
do you have some stories that you can share that you've seen that kind of, coincides with this business on the importance of having things in place?
Yeah. Oh, this is not legal advice. These are just stories. Do not come for me.
Disclaimer.
Right. Disclaimer, big thing. Yeah, I know. So I mean, I've seen because like with what I work with, it's not like state probate. I don't do state. I'm on the federal side. So it's a little bit different, but same difference, what I say. I've actually been, physically, I was lucky enough to actually attend hearings physically and help with them and actually meet the people that we're working with. And there was one story where I used to tell my boss, I'm like, how do you not cry? He was like, you can't cry. And I was like, what do you mean I can't cry? And he was like, just, I'm telling you now, you can't cry. I'm like, okay. So we had a case. Um, and this girl, what hits home is when I see people who are my age. And I mean, I've seen people, even just outside of work, where they're my age and they pass with children and nothing was in place. I mean, fortunately, they'll have family that will take the kid in. But I've seen where people don't have something executed properly. If these documents aren't properly done, according to, I know like according to your state law, if they're not done properly, they could potentially get thrown out. Um, the one thing that I seen is she had luckily her mom made her put these documents in place.
Yeah.
And that really saved everything to ensure that her kid would be set.
Yeah.
Um, comes to, I mean, we don't handle anything like life insurance. I mean, the one thing that I know, even just through research and just general knowledge that I've learned over the years, is that the will, it's a set of instructions for probate, but it's not
Yeah.
going to keep out of probate. And I mean, I can tell you, like, depending on the case or whatever you have, it could take a while, especially if people are fighting back and forth over it. I mean, I've had that happen in my own family where someone passed and there was a will in place, but someone hid it or got rid of it. And so things weren't done according to the
Wow.
instructions you believe. But I mean, I've seen siblings duke it out over
Yeah.
essentially nothing. And it's crazy to see people act that way. But I mean, when someone passes and there's things at stake, people are going to act that way. But when you have these legal written instructions, chances are it can get carried out the way that you want it to. So, I mean, one of the companies I work with, they offer estate planning documents um, with the policy. So you can have a will and a trust. And actually brought on a new agent who's going through licensing process who utilized that same company prior before even meeting me and knowing who I
Wow.
was. But they ended up getting their life insurance through that company, utilized the will and trust that came with it, and has everything set up because he has kids, he
Oh,
has a
that's
wife.
fantastic.
He wants things to, happen. And so I don't know everything that he did with what he has going on, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, I mean, you see people talking about it online. There's a few people that I follow specifically that I actually know. And one of them talks about, setting up the wills and the trusts and stuff like that, but having life insurance go into the trust.
Yeah.
So that way it can be, executed. I mean, where you can have the money dripped out to your kids over, a period of time because handing, I don't even $200,000, even $100,000, 10,000, handing that to an 18-year-old,
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
they're gonna blow it.
Yeah.
But the important thing is too, like I've had clients where they want to put their kids as the beneficiary, which is natural to do, but you have to understand if they're minors, it's not going to go to them directly.
Yeah.
So it's either you find an adult who you can trust to handle things for on behalf of your kid. But I mean, if you put it in your trust, from my understanding, you know
That's
what?
something that you train your agents on and give feedback or advice to your clients now.
I let them know because I mean, it's kind of, I feel like a thin line to walk when you're talking about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because if you aren't an attorney, you can't give legal advice. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't give any tax advice. I don't even give investment advice. I don't have investment licenses. So I can educate you on the topic, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you how you should do something. Um, but I just tell them like, hey, heads up, if you do leave your, you put your minor child or the minor person as the beneficiary, they
Yeah.
might not get it until they're 18.
Exactly.
Just because they're a minor. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't matter what it is. If they're a minor, they're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Usually,
And you want to make
until
sure the
just
right next of kin gets your kid and it's not, drain the account in the process. So
right.
with everything that you do with your agents and your agency, how do you retain your agents? Like what is your retention process?
I'm just myself and I'm there for them. I
Yeah.
don't want to come off as someone who, like, I don't make anything about me because at the end of the day, it's not about me. Like, yes, I'm
Yeah.
here to grow a business, but I brought you in because you want to learn. And
Hmm.
I made the promise to you that I'm going to train you and show you the ropes and help you out along the way with whatever you want to do. If you want to become just a producer and do that and hang out, that's fine. Or if you wanted to build your agency, then I'll help you do that. I'll help you train your people and get you prepared to be at that level. I mean, everyone's a work in progress. I'm still a work in
Yeah.
progress. And I always tell people, like, if I did something to offend you, like, I'm open for communication. Don't ever be afraid to, like, say, like, oh, don't do it that way. Or I'm open for feedback. Like, I
Yeah.
like to work collaboratively with people.
Hmm.
I don't want to be like, oh, it's all about me. I'm the only person that's going to train. That's why I like to bring in other people. I mean, especially if someone, like, I had someone reach out to me on TikTok and um, her family had a death in the family and there was some, life insurance questions. And she's like, would you be able to meet with them? They're about 20 minutes away from you. And then she mentioned that, she's like, wait, do you speak Spanish? And I was like,
Hmm.
a lot of people think I do because a lot of people think that I am Latina, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And so I actually have a girl on my team who does speak Spanish. So I was like, well, I have someone who can. I go, so I mean, I can have her go meet them. Like, it's not a problem. Like, I don't have to be the one doing everything. So I have no problem like beating agents appointments especially if I can't do something or if I feel like maybe they're a better fit for it. I'll I have no problem like handing them appointments, but I really want to just show them the way, show them where they can find the resources because at the end of the day, you're here to learn. And if I told you I'm going to teach you and I'm here to support you, I'm going to do everything in my power to live up to that expectation. I don't want to bait and switch you with like, oh yeah, I have this great training program. I'm going to be here for you anytime. Just text or call me and then just never answer you.
I've
Because
heard that
again,
story.
I've had that done to me
We
where
we all
I'm just like
have.
open communication. I'm here to train you, but hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to withhold the resources from you. I'm not going to give you the things.
Oh yeah.
What's
Oh
the
yeah.
point?
So what is your recruiting like? Do you have any challenges when it comes to recruiting, or do people just come to you? Like how are you letting that flow to you?
Lately, it's been coming to me.
Hmm.
But I was never one to like say, oh yeah, affirmations. I always thought it was the goofiest, like corniest thing ever. I'm like, okay. And so I started doing it. And one thing I did, like, I'm very into vision boards, but it's a very fun thing to do for me. It's fun to dream and like find the pictures. Like that process is fun, but you have to actually put the work in for those like pictures to come to life. But sometimes it's overwhelming. So I started telling myself, like, I have an amazing team. I have a team of diverse people because I want people from different walks of background. I want people who speak different languages because those other markets need help. And obviously, if I don't speak the language, I can't help them. Um, so, I mean, people have kind of been coming to me, and it's through me talking about the things that I offer in terms of like different life insurances and how they work. So I think they see that and they're like, hey, I want to do this too. But I think it's also because some of the people that have come in, they've had their own personal experiences where they're like, you know what, people I know need this. And so I think when it kind of clicks in someone's mind, like, hey, I know someone who needs this. If I can learn it and teach them, like, why not? Um, but I have been more active when it comes to just recruiting people I don't know. Um, and I see like when I'm very much on social media and when I'm scrolling, if I see somebody, I'm like, I like their profile, like I like their vibe, like let me just reach out. Like now I don't have a problem, excuse me, with reaching out. I think what hindered me before is I'm like afraid of someone telling me no. Like
Do you think that
once I
change happened once you started posting on social media more consistently, breaking out of that shell?
that happened more, I think that combines with being okay with being told no. And then being with, I think a lot of it too was being with a leadership team that I felt comfortable bringing people into that environment. Things have been very steady. I mean, when I ask for something, they're like, oh, here it is. I don't expect an instant answer, but 9 times out of 10, I get the information instantly. Um, if it's within an hour or 2 hours, that's fine. As long as it's within like a reasonable time frame. So I think because I've had a much better experience, I'm more comfortable bringing people in because I know if I'm being taken care of, they are too.
Yeah.
And then because I'm taking it as they're my responsibility, I know that I'm going to take care of somebody. But sometimes if I don't have like a certain presentation or if I don't have a certain document that I need, I know that now I can get it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like you put yourself in a state of allowing. It's like because you made the position or the you made the choice to go to an organization that had everything you needed, it allowed you to be comfortable, it allowed you to relax and go, okay, I'm gonna jump in the pool now.
Put the guard down a little bit. I'm like, okay, I think now I'm at a point
Yeah.
where the thing is the system's in place, like the training, because
Yeah.
sometimes you can't do everything, especially if you're on a part-time basis. Like having people to leverage is everything.
Yeah.
Having systems in place that you know for a fact work, that is also everything. No matter what industry you're in, you're going to need systems. If you don't have anything, things are going to crumble and get very messy. Um, so I think that's kind of, hopefully that answers the
No,
question.
no, definitely.
I know I
And
can
for
like
my
trail off sometimes.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And, for my listeners that are listening, while she's diving into systems and talking about things, these are the things that you need to be looking for when you are searching for your new home. And before you even sign a contract with someone, these are the questions you have to ask. And I have already curated a data set list of questions for you to ask, things that I didn't find out for months, years, days after signing up, so that you can be informed and make the best choice for you. I'd rather waste your time 2 hours trying to interview everybody, then waste 90 days somewhere and find out you're not happy. So email us at admin@agentscorereport.com and we will send that out to you. So as we're kind of wrapping up and getting down to the end of this, what advice would you give to newer agents considering stepping into this industry?
Don't be afraid to ask the questions. I mean, I know I naively jumped into everything. So I was just like, oh, this looks like it's fun. Let me give it a whirl. Like, because I didn't have any really stipulations that, like, what's the worst that could happen? I just don't like it. And I wasted money on courses. Big whoop de doo. Um, but I would say take your training seriously. When it comes to you'll have trainings like your organization, your agency, whatever, they're more than likely going to have training, but don't be afraid to go outside after that training and start digging deeper into everything. Like I know a lot of people hate continuing education. I'm one of the weirdos that like absolutely like love it. Um, take your continuing education seriously. Don't take 3, 4 months like I did to get your license. It's not that hard. It's a multiple choice questionnaire. If you study it, take your practice exams with whatever, course you're signing up with. That'll help. I think I wrote something down. I have
No,
wrote stuff, everything, and didn't even look at it once. Um, where is that? Oh, big thing. Don't take any shortcuts. I see so many people that take shortcuts, and I actually know of someone, I don't know what happened, but their license got revoked. I don't know like I said, I don't know what happened, but I saw that their license, because I went to go see if they were still active, and so I was like, oh, they would be a good person to bring in over here. And then it said like revoked or something or suspended. And I'm like, what happened? So I don't know what happened, but
that's an easy
always
thing to find
be,
out. Hello, this is Patrice, the queen of receipts. And that's why Agent Score Report is exactly what it is. So on agentscorereport.com, as you guys know, this is a website where you can rate and review insurance agents. You can rate them on general reviews. That's where our consumers and your colleagues can come in and make reviews. But then there's public reviews. That's when the Department of Insurance sends out notices of agents who have done fraudulent behavior as well as policy changes and things of that nature. So it's not all the shade room, but they will tell you what agents have done. So there's actually a website where you can look up that agent to look at any cases that were brought against him because he's going to have an administrative proceeding against him. And
yeah, I don't know if I want.
that's what his agent score report is bringing to you guys so you can have that information. You need to know that. Like, and my thing is too, it's like, it's not even that so much. It's like, why is this person's license getting revoked? What are the things that he's doing? Because it's like, how do I make sure my agents don't do what he did? What if it was
Yeah,
just a mistake? Like it is
yeah,
so easy to make mistakes in this business, but easy in a way where if you get lazy and careless, not intentionally, just trying to
yeah.
go with the punches. No,
There's
definitely.
unintentional mistakes, and I think a lot of that lies in where you're not properly explaining something to the client and they're thinking it's one thing versus another. Like
Yeah.
the biggest thing I see on social media is people saying insurance is not an investment. It's not. It's just it has these, the complexity, the components to it that you can use for whatever. We're not going to get into that, but
Exactly.
you just make sure you are being clear about what this is and you're actually being honest with your client. Do
Yeah.
not do anything to line your own pockets. Please do not do that. Those that are doing it are giving the rest of us a bad look. And now everyone's categorizing all of us as
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to line our own pockets.
Again, this is why this is so important because I want to bring back trust, transparency, and professionalism. When I first got in, when I
Yeah.
thought of insurance, I thought suit and ties, and along the way, we became Hawaiian t-shirts and shorts. Not a problem, but what I'm saying is the behavior that's associated with wearing
Yeah.
Hawaiian t-shirts and shorts. It's laid back, chill, not serious. So when that is what's being presented to people who have no other knowledge about the industry, what do you think they're going to fall in line and continue to do or think they should act and do?
Yeah.
So that's a little bit frustrating. So, that kind of wallows into my next question. Agent Score Report values trust, professionalism, and integrity. How do you ensure that these values are upheld in your recruits and your business and your system and everything that you do? What steps do you take to maintain transparency?
I like to make sure people are properly trained.
Mm.
You know, if I see someone saying something like maybe they're training, like in the past, and they say something a certain way, I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying it that way. Like, because I just don't feel like it's the right way to say it. And so I tell my team, like, oh, like in the past before where I was somewhere else, I'm like, maybe not say it that way, but this is the gist of it. I like to make sure people are organized. I get into the whole, don't store client information on your computer. There's no need to, you cannot do that. Don't do this, don't do that. Like there's compliance in place for a reason. Um, just don't write things down on a piece of paper and leave it at home or on your desk or something, and you get up and walk away. Making sure that they are just really adhering to the systems in place. Track your agents, track yourself. Make sure that things are being paid out. Follow up with your clients. Make sure they understand and they have questions. If you can kind of gauge that someone's confused still, they're kind of hesitant, don't move forward. If you feel something isn't right for them, don't do it. I mean, a lot of people think that, hey, you're just an IUL agent, you're just a permanent life insurance agent. No, but I've actually told people, yeah, I don't think this is a fit for you. Like, I don't think we should do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you really want it, like, go find someone else who will write it for you because I'm not doing it. Like, I've actually
Yeah.
told people, I don't think it's suitable for you, but you can go this route.
Because we have so many different organizations doing so many products, they try to label you, but it's like, hello, insurance is not one size fits all.
No,
And I'm putting
no.
myself in a position to be able to serve. It's like I can't say what, like, to me, the best policy is the one my client can get qualified for.
That
And they
exactly.
can
And
afford
I
and it
just heard
makes
that.
sense. But
Yes,
obviously all those other things come in, but I'm not about to talk down on a product because I know there's companies out there that are limited. They might even stop at age 70 or the prices go up after a certain point and the
yes,
clients are not prepared for that. And that's not fair because what happened, insurance is not the same as it was or the way it was presented back in the day. It term means terminate, meaning you're using it
yeah,
temporarily, meaning I do get a term policy in my younger years because if I die and I have children, I need to have a couple of $1 million to make sure they're good. But I also need to
yeah.
supplement with something that's going to outlast that term. See, what's happening is people are being I would say improperly covered or not fully covered because now you're
They're being
60, now you're
misled.
65, your policy's canceled. Now what you paid for what you pay for that policy, you're going to pay for like $5,000 of coverage now.
Yeah, triple, quadruple amount because
And
I mean
that's,
it's based off your age is a big thing. And
and if you're
then
healthy, did you keep it up?
don't let you have some kind of like health issue now. Now it's
Yeah.
gonna jack it up even more. So I agree. I mean, there's a lot of education out there, and I
Yeah.
think that's why I also got more into the whole recruiting aspect. So I'm like, you know what? I need to build a licensed field force that goes out there and
Yeah.
properly educate people because there are companies that offer everything, not
Yeah.
just one thing. Like, what do they call it? A one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And like I see both sides to everything. Like people who are out there, bashing certain things, I get why they're doing it, but it's
Yeah.
because agents didn't properly structure something or
Mm,
didn't like let the client know exactly how it's working. They sold a
exactly.
big dream, which I get. Selling a dream on things is great and all, but make sure they understand what it is and they can follow through. Keeping notes on your conversations. I mean, CRM, use a Google Doc, something cloud based, something to take notes on your conversation. Okay, we're putting this plan in place because I mean, a lot of people don't know that like you can get a term because maybe you're on a budget right now, but you can
Yeah.
convert it later into a permanent
Exactly.
policy that you want when you're ready. And if I say, oh, I'm going to convert this, in 2 years, put that in your notes. So
Yeah.
when your annual reviews, which you should be doing annual reviews and keeping communication with your clients, you can bring that up and say, hey, 2 years ago, we said we were going to do this. Are you ready to do it now?
Yeah.
And figure out what that looks like. You can literally put strategies in place with life insurance alone from transitioning from a term to a permanent and keeping both or some of it, all of it, whatever you want to do. Um, Write their goals down so you know
Yeah.
how to keep up with things. So things like that, keeping track of your clients, making sure you're sending communication with them is something that I also like to do. I like to send out holiday cards. They get a kick out of it when you actually handwrite it. I
Yeah.
will literally
Yeah.
get text messages oh my God, I got your card. I haven't gotten a
Oh,
card in a
that's so
long time.
sweet.
I think it's fun. Like someone,
Yeah.
prior leadership told me to do it. They're like, we do it, you should, it's a recommendation. You don't have to. But I started doing it and people love it.
And it's true because in I read a leadership book once that said, and while this is not consumer based, it stated more than a raise, more than anything, people just want recognition.
Yeah.
So you doing that made them feel like a person, that they weren't just a policy, they weren't just a commission
Hmm.
payout, they're their family. You care, you're here, you're part of my Christmas now because you're my family and I protected you. And I want to
Right.
keep protecting you and the next grands and the next ones until I'm gone. And then maybe my kids will take over whoever shift my business to. This isn't just a one-stop shop. And I love that. I feel so lucky to have you on my show because you are exactly the person that I want projected in this market, someone that is literally doing God's work, in my opinion. You are hiring the right people, you're making sure they're
Yeah.
educated and combating the misinformation out there that is frankly hurting our clients at the end of the day out of this competition of capitalism and
So much.
commission.
I have to
So
like literally hold my thumbs back when I see the stuff out there. I'll start typing. I'm like, you know what? Don't. It's not even worth it. Um, I'll like text, one of my agent, like me and an agent of mine. We see it all the time. We're like, oh my God, did you see this person? Did you? And so I'm like, I can't. I'm just not even gonna say anything. Um, but I know our time is
door
almost
on
up.
one comment post. Some guy like structured this IUL that was freaking wild. Like he was just like, she's gonna pay $1,000 a month. She's 26, Leonardo DiCaprio, right? And they're like, by time she is 65, she's gonna take 32,000 out. I'm like, the math is not mapping. I don't even need to know IULs to know if someone's contributing $1,000 a month and they're 22 years old. I know the cost of insurance is 18 cents. That is just being vague. But
Right.
I redid that policy even on $1 million one. I was like, let me just do 1 million and contribute that. Even that generated $96,000 of income potential when she turned 65. So I'm like, oh, so you got paid.
Right. And just to, I guess, piggyback off of that, sadly, so someone invited me to one of their trainings like some years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll sit. I literally seen them telling the agents on that training to structure it based on the target because target is what you get paid on. So increase the target because you'll increase your commission. And I was like, no, there's no way you're saying.
If I
So I
could get the
stayed
target to
on to
zero for my
hear.
client, I would.
I stayed on to hear
Yeah.
this. And I was just like, you're joking. And then like I've had people go, oh, like how much are you getting paid on the policy? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, I don't know. I'll just wait when the
Yeah.
commission hits. And they go, you don't
So
calculate it? I'm
many
like,
money hungry
no.
people out there training their agents to do the bad thing because they're going to get a bigger override off of it. And
Yeah. Like, I mean,
it's
I'll check
just, it
later
stinks.
to make sure
But
that
we're
something
doing the
like
work,
pays them
right? Like
out.
I said, this isn't the
Yeah.
shade room, this is solution room. You are the solution to that problem. And there's so many others out there that are just like you, that are doing the right thing. And you are truly, truly doing this with your heart.
Yeah.
So with that being said, where do you see the future of your recruitment and insurance industry going, and how do you plan to evolve your process to stay ahead of the trends?
I want a ton of licensed agents and I want them everywhere because as I mentioned on my social media once, I can go out there, I can make all the videos I want, I can talk to as many people as I want, but I only have as many hours in the day as I have.
Yeah.
I cannot do everything on my own. So my goal is over the next 5 years, I would love to have like a field force of like 5,000 licensed agents out there because I'm with an IMO that can actually, be in all 50 states. They're in Canada and they are in, I want to say Mexico now. So that's why I switched was the whole going international. I'm like, who does
Yeah.
that? So I was like, this opens the door for so many people. I mean, I don't know anybody international. I mean, I have people like in
I
Croatia,
love
but
it
we're
because I
not
thought
there.
about it and I'm like, how do I do it? So I love that you're
Right.
bringing it up.
So I was like, oh, someone
So
already figured it out. Bet. So that's what I want to do. I really just want to have as many licensed agents as possible, whether they're full time, part time, like it doesn't matter because
yeah,
every effort, every hour of piece of effort counts, in my opinion.
yeah.
And, get to a point where I have like a full staff of
Yeah,
people,
it's a
like for
different
different
version of you
departments.
reaching all parts of
Oh,
the
yeah.
country.
Like I
Yeah.
want to do retreats. I like to spoil people. Like
Yeah.
I want to like send little welcome kits and stuff. And people are like, you're doing too much. I'm like, I feel like it's not enough, but I think it's fun. Like I think it'd be cute
Yeah.
to
Do what makes
send you
you
a little
happy.
notebook.
Like
Yeah.
it can end tomorrow. And I'm glad I
Like,
chose this. Like I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, I want to live. Like I want when I become a grandma and I'm a bag of bones, I would be like, your grandma was a hot fox. Okay.
yeah,
I
it
want to be
was
like,
worth
I
it.
lived. I got on
Yeah.
a plane when I was 23 and lied to my mom about a insurance business trip and went to Europe. That's what I did. When I came
Yeah.
back, my
See?
auntie's like, I'm so proud of you. Don't you ever do that again. But no, seriously, you have to do what makes you happy, and you are doing
Yeah.
what makes you happy, and that makes me happy, and it makes me happy that I got to come into your experience. Like I love
Yeah.
that.
I'm glad that we like just randomly connected
Yeah,
on
and it
like
just worked.
threads.
I love
It
that you were
did.
just in, because I'm one of those people that are just in, and I am literally like you. I have my manifestation, my universe book, where I write things down. I literally I want to read it to you because I'm reading this book. I don't have it with me now. It's called Ask and It Should Be Given. So just to help me, because I always got so many ideas, I'll make a piece of paper, and this is the universe has got a lot of sides. So you put a line in the middle, you put one that says me, one that says universe. So I put all the things I'm going to take care of, everything that I know that's out of my control. I tell the universe, hey, take care of that. You know what I mean? And so on it, I asked him to, you know, I said, keep bringing the right people to me who believe in my message and will help me expand my platform so that we can inform people. And just beautiful all the time. And then just being able to grab you, and I'm just like, look at the universe. And then she's just awesome. Like it's one of those things, like we don't have to be like, try to figure each other out. It's just like,
Yeah.
no, this person's awesome. They're on the same page with me. No further questions. Let's do this.
Yeah. Once
So
you
is
like
there anything
met
you want to leave
people,
us with before I close out?
treat people like a person, not a number. Like, please, people, I know people are out there, they're trying to recruit, they're trying to get a number of clients. You want to get to your, maybe your next promotion, whatever it is. But treat them like a human being. Understand that they're people, they have feelings. They can't just be a number in your business. Some people are going to stick, some people are not going to. Just roll with the punches, but don't be disrespectful. Don't bash things on the internet. The whole insurance side of TikTok is giving me anxiety. I just sit there. I mean, I've met some really good, like, well, I haven't met them, but like I follow really good people on there that actually like give facts and stuff. But it's crazy. Just don't be buck wild on the internet just to get attention.
Well, thank you so much, Larysa, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And everybody, that brings us to the end of this show. Don't forget to check out agentscorereport.com and create a profile so you can rate and review your favorite agent. With that being said, this is the Great Reset podcast for Insurance Needs Accountability. We'll see you next time. That was awesome.